The top 12 lessons from the Essays of Warren Buffett, Lessons for Corporate America. All right, PowerBooks family. Welcome back to the channel where we dissect the knowledge that can truly empower your financial journey. I'm thrilled to have you join me today as we embark on another deep dive into the world of investing and business. Have you ever felt like the stock market is a wild, unpredictable beast, speaking a language only the super rich can decipher? Do you find yourself wondering how certain investors consistently build massive wealth while others struggle to even keep pace? Ever wished you had a proven roadmap to navigate the complexities of corporate America and potentially unlock enduring success? Well, buckle up, because today we're cracking the code with a timeless guide. The Essays of Warren Buffett, Lessons for Corporate America, by Warren E. Buffett and Lawrence A. Cunningham. This isn't just another book filled with vague theories or fleeting market trends. This is a collection of Buffett's own words, meticulously organized, offering actionable principles, delving into the crucial psychology behind successful ownership, and equipping you with the tools to potentially profit from both understanding and participating in the business world. Whether you're just starting your investment journey or looking to refine your existing edge, understanding these proven lessons can be a game changer. So are you ready to uncover specific criteria Buffett uses to pick his legendary investments? Are you curious about how to identify high-quality businesses with durable competitive advantages? And are you eager to master the long-term, owner-oriented mindset that often separates truly successful investors from the rest? Then you've landed in the right place. Let's unlock the power of the Essays of Warren Buffett. What's the biggest challenge you currently face in your investing journey? Share your experiences in the comments below. I'm always eager to hear from you. And don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to PowerBooks for more in-depth explorations of the books that can transform your financial future. Lesson 1. Invest in businesses, not stocks. The owner's mindset. Core idea. At the heart of Warren Buffett's entire investment philosophy is the simple yet profound idea that a stock certificate is not just a piece of paper or a ticker symbol. It represents a proportionate ownership stake in a real, operating business. Therefore, when you buy a share of stock, you should think of yourself as buying a small piece of a company with actual factories, employees, customers, products, and management, just as if you were buying the entire enterprise privately. Buffett consistently emphasizes that the investor's focus should be on the long-term economics and competitive position of the underlying business, rather than on the short-term gyrations of its stock price. This owner's mindset immediately shifts the investor's perspective from speculation to genuine investment, why it matters, the implications for investor behavior. 1. Fundamental analysis over market noise. If you're buying a business, you don't care about daily price quotes. You care about the business's sales, profits, management quality, competitive landscape, and future prospects. This forces you to focus on fundamental analysis rather than technical charts or market sentiment. 2. Patience and long-term horizon. When you buy a business, you don't typically plan to sell it next week or next month. You buy it for its long-term cash flow generation and growth potential. This mindset naturally aligns with Buffett's emphasis on patience and allowing the magic of compounding to work over decades. 3. Valuation based on business economics. You wouldn't buy an entire farm or apartment building without estimating its long-term earning power. Similarly, an owner's mindset demands that you value a stock based on the business's intrinsic value, discounted future cash flows, rather than on market fads or price momentum. 4. Disregarding Mr. Market's moods. As a business owner, you wouldn't let a moody partner dictate the value of your entire enterprise daily. This lesson empowers you to ignore the irrational exuberance or pessimism of Mr. Market, and instead view price fluctuations as opportunities to buy more of a good business cheaply, or sell a bit when it's overpriced. 5. Focus on cash flow, not accounting gimmicks. A true owner is concerned with the real cash their business generates that they can withdraw or reinvest. This naturally leads to an emphasis on metrics like owner earnings and understanding how capital expenditures impact true free cash flow, rather than being misled by accounting maneuvers. 6. Partnership with management. When you view yourself as an owner, management becomes your partner. You care about their integrity, their competence, and how they allocate the capital you've entrusted to them. This fosters a critical yet supportive relationship with the company's leadership. Contrast with speculation. This lesson is a direct antithesis to speculation. A speculator buys a stock hoping its price will go up without necessarily caring about the underlying business. They focus on momentum, technical indicators, and predicting what other people will do. Buffett sees this as gambling. An investor, by contrast, focuses on what the business is worth and buys it if the price is attractive relative to that worth, confident that the business's success will eventually translate into shareholder returns. Practical application for the investor. Before you buy a stock, ask yourself, if I were buying this entire business, would I understand how it makes money? Would I be comfortable owning it for the next 10, 20 years, even if the stock market closed tomorrow? Research the business deeply. Understand its products, services, customers, competitors, management team, and industry dynamics. Think like a private buyer. If you were buying the whole company, what would you pay for it? What are its long-term prospects? Ignore daily stock quotes. They are a distraction. Focus on the business's performance over time. Buffett's analogy, quote, "We want to buy businesses, not pieces of paper." You wouldn't buy a farm if you didn't know anything about farming. So why buy stocks if you don't know anything about the companies? This lesson is the cornerstone of Buffett's success because it forces a discipline, a long-term perspective, and a focus on fundamental value that separates true investing from mere trading or speculation. Lesson 2. Focus on intrinsic value and demand a margin of safety. Core idea, intrinsic value. For Warren Buffett, intrinsic value is the sole logical and reliable basis for making investment decisions. He defines it as the discounted value of the cash that a business can generate and distribute to its owners over its remaining life. In simpler terms, it's the present-day worth of all the future cash flows an asset, whether it's a farm, a bond, or a business, is expected to produce. Buffett consistently stresses that intrinsic value is an estimate, not a precise calculation, and it's the only true measure of a business's worth. Market price, by contrast, is merely what the stock is trading for today, often influenced by transient emotions, fads, and short-term speculation. Why intrinsic value matters. 1. Rational decision-making. By focusing on intrinsic value, investors ground their decisions in economic reality rather than market whims. It forces you to think about what a business is actually worth based on its fundamentals, rather than what someone else might pay for it tomorrow. 2. Distinction from price. Intrinsic value is independent of market price. A business's inherent worth doesn't change daily with stock fluctuations. This allows investors to view price volatility as an opportunity when price deviates significantly from value rather than a source of fear or excitement. 3. Long-term orientation. Calculating intrinsic value requires projecting future cash flows, inherently pushing the investor to adopt a long-term perspective. This aligns perfectly with Buffett's hold forever philosophy, as the vast majority of a company's value lies in its distant future earnings. The margin of safety. The investor's protection. The concept of margin of safety is Benjamin Graham's most vital contribution to value investing, and Buffett embraces it wholeheartedly. It's the principle of buying a security for significantly less than its intrinsic value. What it is: if you estimate a business's intrinsic value to be, say, $100 per share, a margin of safety would dictate that you only consider buying it if the market price is $70, $60, or even $50 per share. The difference between your conservative intrinsic value estimate and the actual purchase price is your margin of safety. Why it's crucial. Protection against error. No investor's valuation is perfect. A margin of safety provides a cushion against unforeseen business difficulties, calculation errors, or future economic surprises. It's your buffer against uncertainty, enhancement of returns. By buying assets for less than they are worth, you are inherently building in a higher potential return. If the market eventually recognizes the true value, your returns will be magnified. Risk reduction. Buffett views risk not as volatility, beta, but as the probability of permanent capital loss. Buying with a margin of safety drastically reduces this risk. You're paying so little that even if things don't go perfectly, you're unlikely to suffer permanent impairment of capital. Psychological discipline. It prevents chasing overvalued assets and encourages patience, waiting for truly attractive opportunities where the market offers a bargain. Practical application for the investor. 1. Estimate intrinsic value conservatively. Don't be overly optimistic in your projections. Assume reasonable, not heroic growth rates and profit margins. 2. Demand a significant discount. Once you have your conservative intrinsic value estimate, don't buy unless the market price is substantially lower, often 20%, 30%, or even 50% below your estimated value. The greater the uncertainty in your valuation, the larger the margin of safety required. 3. Patience to wait. Applying a margin of safety means you will often have to wait a long time for opportunities to arise. Buffett himself often sits on large cash piles, waiting for fat pitches, where a business's price offers an attractive margin of safety. 4. Simplicity in valuation. While sophisticated models exist, Buffett advocates for straightforward valuation. If you can't understand a business well enough to make a reasonable intrinsic value estimate without complex models, it's outside your circle of competence. Buffett's analogy, quote, "If you understood a business and you can come to a valuation, then you build in a margin of safety. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. That's why you have a margin of safety. It's like building a bridge that can carry 30,000 pounds, but you only drive 10,000-pound trucks across it. Cross?" Lesson 3. Understand and seek durable competitive advantages, economic moats. Core idea. For Warren Buffett, the existence of a durable competitive advantage, which he famously calls an economic moat, is the single most important factor determining whether a business is truly wonderful and worth owning for the long term. An economic moat is essentially what protects a company's long-term profitability and market share from competitive attacks. It's the structural feature of a business that allows it to generate consistently high returns on capital over many years, far exceeding what a generic competitor could achieve. Without a moat, even a currently profitable business is vulnerable to new entrants or existing rivals chipping away at its margins and market position. Why it matters. The link to long-term success. 1. Sustainable profitability. Moats are the source of supernormal profits. They allow a company to charge higher prices, capture greater market share, or operate at lower costs than competitors, leading to consistently higher margins and returns on invested capital. 2. Predictability of cash flows. Businesses with strong moats have more predictable and durable cash flows, making their intrinsic value easier to estimate and more reliable over time. This reduces investment risk. 3. Compounding power. A business that can consistently reinvest its earnings at high rates of return, protected by a moat, becomes a powerful compounding machine. This is how immense wealth is built over decades. 4. Resilience to competition. In a capitalist system, high profits attract competition. A wide moat acts as a formidable barrier, making it difficult and expensive for competitors to replicate the success and steal market share. 5. Quality of the business. Buffett's search for wonderful businesses is synonymous with his search for wide moats. A business without a moat, no matter how clever its products today, is inherently a weaker investment because its advantage can be easily eroded. Types of moats. What Buffett looks for? While not an exhaustive list, Buffett frequently points to several common sources of durable competitive advantage. Intangible assets, brands, patents, regulatory licenses. Brands. Powerful, well-established brands. Example, Coca-Cola, See's Candies, create customer loyalty and allow for pricing power. People will pay a premium simply for the brand. Patents and trade secrets. Exclusive legal rights or proprietary knowledge can protect products or processes. Regulatory, government licenses. Exclusive rights granted by the government, example, utilities, broadcasters, can create monopolies or oligopolies. Cost advantage. Superior production process. A company can produce goods or services at a significantly lower cost than competitors due to economies of scale, proprietary technology, or efficient operations. Example, GEICO's low-cost insurance distribution. Preferential access to resources. Exclusive access to raw materials, distribution channels, or prime locations. Switching costs. Customers face high costs, monetary, time, effort, risk, when switching from one product or service to another. Example, enterprise software, financial services. Once ingrained, it's hard for customers to leave. Network effects. The value of a product or service increases as more people use it. Example, social media platforms, credit card networks. This creates a powerful feedback loop where growth attracts more users, making the product even more valuable. Scale advantages. A business's per unit costs decline as its production volume increases, allowing it to outcompete smaller rivals on price. Example, Walmart's purchasing power, Amazon's logistics. Buffett's analogy, quote, "The most important thing for me is figuring out how big the moat is around the business. What I'm looking for is a castle with a very wide moat and a very able and honest knight in charge of the castle." This lesson is critical because it forces investors to move beyond superficial analyses of current profits and instead dig deep into the structural reasons why those profits might persist, or not, over the long term. Understanding moats is key to identifying truly wonderful businesses. Lesson 4. Embrace a long-term investment horizon. Compounding is magic. Core idea. For Warren Buffett, time is the ultimate ally of the investor. He consistently advocates for an extremely long-term investment horizon, often stating that his preferred holding period is forever. This means buying wonderful businesses and intending to hold them for decades, allowing their intrinsic value to compound and grow over time, largely unperturbed by short-term market fluctuations or economic cycles. This lesson is fundamentally linked to the concept of compounding, which Buffett famously calls the eighth wonder of the world. The magic of compounding. Compounding is the process where the returns on an investment are reinvested, generating their own returns. It's earning returns on your returns. While it might seem slow in the beginning, its power accelerates exponentially over time, particularly when combined with high rates of return and a long duration. Snowball effect. Buffett often uses the analogy of a snowball rolling downhill. The longer it rolls, the more snow it picks up, and the faster it grows. Similarly, invested capital, when allowed to compound over long periods, grows at an accelerating rate. Pre-tax compounding. A key element of Berkshire's success is its policy of rarely paying dividends. By retaining and reinvesting earnings within the company, these earnings compound on a pre-tax basis. Shareholders only incur taxes, capital gains, when they sell their shares, allowing the full amount to grow much faster than if dividends were paid out and immediately taxed. This maximizes the snowball's growth. Why it matters. Behavioral implications for the investor. 1. Ignoring market noise. A long-term horizon naturally filters out the daily chatter, quarterly earnings obsessions, and media hype that often distract short-term traders. These short-term fluctuations become irrelevant to the ultimate compounding of intrinsic value. 2. Patience as a virtue. Compounding requires immense patience. It means sitting on your hands through periods of market volatility, even when your holdings might be temporarily undervalued, trusting that the underlying business will continue to grow in value. 3. Focus on business performance. If you're holding forever, your attention shifts from the stock's price to the actual performance of the business, its earnings power, competitive position, and management's capital allocation decisions. 4. Avoiding transaction costs and taxes. Frequent buying and selling incurs transaction costs, commissions, spreads, and more significantly, triggers capital gains taxes, especially short-term gains, which are taxed at higher ordinary income rates. A long-term approach minimizes these frictional costs, allowing more capital to compound. 5. Capitalizing on inactivity. Buffett often says his favorite holding period is forever. His long-term view means he is comfortable with extended periods of inactivity, not buying or selling, because he trusts the compounding engine of his underlying businesses. Contrast with short-termism. This lesson stands in stark contrast to the prevalent short-term thinking in financial markets, where investors, and often corporate managers, prioritize quarterly earnings, next year's forecasts, and daily stock price movements. This short-term focus often leads to impulsive decisions, overtrading, and a failure to capture the immense benefits of long-duration compounding. Practical application for the investor. Evaluate businesses for their multi-decade potential. Does this business have a moat that will last 20-plus years? Invest only what you won't need for many years. This removes the pressure to sell at an inopportune time. Resist the urge to check prices daily. Focus on the business news, not the stock quotes. Consider low-cost, broad market index funds as a default for long-term compounding if you don't have the time or skill to pick individual stocks. This still leverages compounding power. Reinvest dividends, if any, or capital from sales into other high-quality, compounding assets. Buffett's analogy, quote, "Our favorite holding period is forever. Time is the friend of the wonderful business, the enemy of the mediocre. Never interrupt compounding unnecessarily." This lesson is fundamental to building lasting wealth. It teaches investors to harness one of the most powerful forces in finance by adopting a patient, long-term perspective and letting the underlying businesses do the hard work of compounding. Lesson 5. Utilize Mr. Market's moods to your advantage. Core idea. Who is Mr. Market? This lesson comes directly from Warren Buffett's mentor, Benjamin Graham, and is perhaps one of the most brilliant allegories in investment literature. Mr. Market is an imaginary, mercurial business partner who shows up daily to offer to buy your share of the business or sell you his share. He's a manic depressive. Mr. Market is a highly emotional character. Some days he's incredibly optimistic and euphoric, seeing only bright futures for your business and offering you very high prices for your share. Other days, he's gripped by fear and despair, seeing only trouble ahead and offering to sell you his share at ridiculously low prices. He's your servant, not your master. Crucially, you have the option to ignore Mr. Market entirely. You don't have to engage with him every day. You only interact with him when his offered price makes sense for you. How Mr. Market behaves, his irrationality. Mr. Market's offers are rarely based on the true underlying value of the business. Instead, they reflect his current emotional state, which is often influenced by fear and greed, panics and booms in the broader economy or market. Short-term news, overreacting to quarterly earnings, temporary setbacks or positive headlines, crowd behavior, following the herd regardless of fundamental logic, lack of fundamental analysis, ignoring the actual business performance in favor of price trends. The investor's role, how to interact with Mr. Market. Buffett advises investors to treat Mr. Market as a useful, though highly eccentric partner. 1. Exploit his pessimism. When Mr. Market is depressed and offering to sell you shares in excellent businesses at ridiculously low prices, you should be eager to buy. This is when the margin of safety, lesson 2, is widest. 2. Ignore his euphoria or sell cautiously. When Mr. Market is exuberant and offering to buy your shares at absurdly high prices, you can choose to sell a portion if the price far exceeds intrinsic value and you have better places to redeploy capital. But primarily, you should simply ignore him and continue holding your wonderful businesses. 3. Focus on intrinsic value, not price. Your decision to buy or sell should always be based on your assessment of the business's intrinsic value, not on what Mr. Market's current mood suggests. 4. Patience and discipline. The key is having the patience to wait for Mr. Market to offer you genuinely advantageous prices and the discipline to act rationally when he does, rather than being swept up in his emotions. Why it matters. The psychological and financial benefits. Emotional resilience. Understanding Mr. Market helps investors develop the emotional fortitude to remain calm during market downturns, when Mr. Market is terrified, and avoid irrational exuberance during market booms, when Mr. Market is giddy. Avoidance of common pitfalls. It prevents investors from buying high and selling low, which is the natural outcome of reacting emotionally to market swings. Source of opportunity. Mr. Market's irrationality creates the very opportunities for value investors to buy assets for less than they are worth, which is the source of long-term superior returns. Reinforces owner's mindset. It constantly reminds you that you own a piece of a business, not just a stock ticker. The business's value doesn't change just because Mr. Market is having a bad day. Contrast with emotional investing. The vast majority of market participants fail to adhere to this lesson. They let Mr. Market dictate their actions. They get scared when prices fall and sell into panic, and they get greedy when prices rise and buy into bubbles. Buffett emphasizes that successful investing requires a contrarian temperament when the market is irrational. Practical application for the investor. Cultivate a detached perspective. View price fluctuations as a source of information about Mr. Market's mood, not about the fundamental value of your holdings. Have cash ready. Be prepared to deploy capital when Mr. Market offers excellent businesses at bargain prices. Example, during market downturns or specific company distress. Don't let short-term news affect long-term judgments. If a business's long-term prospects remain intact, ignore short-term negative headlines that might cause Mr. Market to sell off shares cheaply. Educate yourself on intrinsic value. The better you are at estimating intrinsic value, the easier it is to judge when Mr. Market is being irrational. Buffett's analogy, quote, "You're dealing with a manic depressive fellow who is giving you a quote every day, and you don't have to pay attention to him. Mr. Market is there to serve you, not to guide you." Lesson 6. Stay within your circle of competence. Core idea. Warren Buffett consistently emphasizes the concept of a circle of competence, a clearly defined area of knowledge and understanding where an individual genuinely knows what they are doing. It's not about having a high IQ or being an expert in every field. It's about knowing the boundaries of what you do understand and, more importantly, what you don't. For Buffett, this means only investing in businesses whose operations, industry dynamics, competitive landscape, and future prospects you can genuinely comprehend. If you cannot understand how a business makes money, what its true value drivers are, or why it has a durable competitive advantage, then it falls outside your circle of competence, and you should simply ignore it. Why it matters, the benefits of sticking to it, and the dangers of straying. 1. Risk management. The primary benefit of sticking to your circle is profound risk reduction. Most investment mistakes arise from investing in things one doesn't fully understand. If you don't understand the underlying economics, you can't accurately assess the risks. 2. Accurate valuation. You can only reliably estimate the intrinsic value of a business. Lesson 2. If you understand its fundamentals, its future cash flow generating ability, and the durability of its profits. Without this understanding, any valuation is speculative guesswork. 3. Better decision-making. By limiting yourself to what you know well, you avoid being swayed by hype, fads, or the allure of exciting but opaque industries. This fosters more rational and disciplined decision-making. 4. Emotional discipline. When you truly understand a business, you're less likely to panic during temporary setbacks or get overly euphoric during irrational booms, because your conviction is based on fundamental knowledge, not fleeting sentiment. 5. Humility and self-awareness. This lesson embodies intellectual humility. It encourages investors to acknowledge their limitations rather than feigning expertise. It's about saying, "I don't know," when you genuinely don't. 6. Efficiency in research. By focusing your efforts, you become more efficient and effective in your research. Instead of superficial knowledge across many areas, you gain deep knowledge in a few. How to define develop your circle of competence. It's personal. Your circle is unique to you based on your education, professional experience, hobbies, and innate curiosities. A doctor might understand healthcare companies. An engineer might grasp industrial processes. A software developer might excel at tech firms. It's not static. Your circle can expand over time, but only through diligent effort, continuous learning, and experience. It requires reading, asking questions, and thinking critically about how businesses truly operate. It's not about being an expert in everything. You don't need to understand every industry or every company. The goal is to understand a sufficient number of businesses well enough to find occasional investment opportunities. Practical application for the investor. 1. Strictly filter opportunities. When presented with an investment idea, your first filter should be, is this within my circle of competence? If the answer is no, immediately discard it. 2. Read and learn constantly. To expand your circle, commit to continuous learning about industries and business models that genuinely interest you. Read annual reports, industry journals, and business histories. 3. Define your boundaries. Be explicit about what you understand and what you don't. This prevents accidental ventures into unfamiliar territory. 4. Resist hot tips in unfamiliar areas. Avoid being pulled into hot sectors or companies just because everyone else is talking about them, especially if you don't understand their underlying business. 5. Humility in public statements. Buffett exemplifies this by admitting he doesn't understand certain complex industries like high tech for many years, or biotechnology, and thus avoids investing in them, despite their popularity. Buffett's analogy, quote, "What an investor needs is the ability to correctly evaluate selected businesses." Note the word selected. You don't have to be an expert on every company, or even many companies. You only have to be able to evaluate companies within your circle of competence. The size of that circle is not very important. Knowing its boundaries, however, is vital. This lesson is profound because it links intellectual honesty directly to investment success. By humbly acknowledging what you don't know and diligently focusing on what you do, investors can dramatically improve their decision-making and reduce their risk. Lesson 7. Prioritize owner earnings over accounting profits. Core idea. For Warren Buffett, understanding a business's true profitability requires looking beyond the widely reported figures like GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, net income. He developed and champions the concept of owner earnings as the most accurate measure of the cash profit a business truly generates and makes available to its owners. Owner earnings represent the cash that could theoretically be withdrawn from a business by its owners each year without harming its ability to maintain its competitive position or its current level of operational capacity. It's about identifying the real cash that's left over for shareholders after all necessary reinvestments to just keep the business running as is. Calculation, conceptual. While not a GAAP metric found directly on financial statements, owner earnings can be conceptually derived as owner earnings equals net income, or pre-depreciation earnings, plus depreciation and amortization minus maintenance capital expenditures, plus or minus changes in working capital, if they represent a real, ongoing investment or release of cash. Depreciation and amortization. These are non-cash expenses. While they reduce reported net income, they don't involve an actual cash outflow in the current period. Buffett adds them back because they are not a real cash drain today. Maintenance capital expenditures, Capex. This is the crucial adjustment. Businesses constantly need to spend money on capital expenditures. Example, replacing old machinery, upgrading facilities, just to maintain their existing competitive edge in unit volume. This is a very real cash outflow that is necessary to prevent the business from deteriorating, and Buffett deducts it. He distinguishes this from growth Capex, which is an investment aimed at expanding the business beyond its current capabilities. Changes in working capital. Adjustments here might be needed for increases or decreases in current assets and liabilities, like inventory or accounts receivable, that represent permanent increases or decreases in cash tied up in the business. Why they matter. superiority over GAAP net income. 1. Focus on true cash flow. GAAP, net income, is an accrual accounting concept. It can be influenced by non-cash charges, like depreciation, and various accounting conventions. Owner earnings cut through this to focus on the actual cash that flows into and out of the business, which is much harder to manipulate. 2. Identifying capital-hungry businesses. This metric helps differentiate between businesses that appear profitable on paper, but consume vast amounts of cash just to maintain their operations, leaving little for owners, versus those that genuinely generate surplus cash. A business with high reported earnings but high maintenance Capex may have low owner earnings. 3. Alignment with intrinsic value. Owner earnings represent the coupon stream, lesson 2, that Buffett discounts to arrive at a business's intrinsic value. It's the most relevant measure for understanding what a business is truly worth to its owners over the long term. 4. Exposing accounting shenanigans. By forcing a focus on real cash flows and necessary reinvestment, the owner earnings concept helps investors spot situations where reported earnings might be artificially inflated or where necessary costs are obscured, a tie-in to Lesson 11. 5. Understanding managerial incentives. It helps reveal if management is genuinely creating value for owners, or if they are simply focused on boosting reported earnings even if it means constantly pouring cash back into the business just to keep it from shrinking. Practical application for the investor. Go beyond the income statement. Always scrutinize the cash flow statement alongside the income statement and balance sheet. Estimate maintenance. Capex. This is often the trickiest part, as companies don't typically break this out directly. Investors must analyze capital expenditure trends, compare them to depreciation, and consider the company's competitive needs to make a reasonable estimate of what's required for maintenance. Think like a sole proprietor. If you owned this business 100%, how much cash could you truly take out at the end of the year without letting the business decline? That's your owner earnings. Used as a primary valuation input. When performing discounted cash flow, DCF analysis, or other valuation methods, use owner earnings as your preferred proxy for free cash flow to equity. Buffett's analogy, quote, "It's a figure that more accurately reflects the real earnings of a business, rather than what GAAP sometimes reports. It is what remains for the owner after all expenses are met, including the cost of keeping the business competitive and in good shape." This lesson is fundamental to Buffett's pragmatic and owner-oriented investment philosophy. It equips investors with a powerful tool to cut through accounting complexities and understand the true economic engine of a business, which is crucial for sound valuation and long-term success. Lesson 8. Understand and exploit the power of tax deferral. Core idea. For Warren Buffett, taxes are a constant, inevitable drag on investment returns. However, he sees their timing as a critical variable that, when managed shrewdly, can significantly enhance long-term wealth. The core idea of this lesson is to legally and rationally defer the payment of taxes for as long as possible, thereby allowing the full amount of your capital to compound on a pre-tax basis. Buffett views tax deferral as an immense, often overlooked advantage that amplifies the power of compounding. Lesson 4. By delaying the tax collector's claim, more capital remains invested and continues to generate returns, which then also get taxed later, creating a powerful virtuous cycle. How it works, the no-interest loan analogy. The mechanism of tax deferral, as practiced by Berkshire Hathaway, primarily involves retained earnings, no dividends. A cornerstone of Berkshire's philosophy is its policy of rarely, if ever, paying dividends to its shareholders. Instead, all earnings are retained within the company and reinvested into new, profitable ventures or into the existing businesses. If Berkshire paid dividends, its shareholders would immediately incur income tax on those dividends. By retaining earnings, that tax is deferred. 2. Unrealized capital gains, long-term holding. When Berkshire Hathaway invests in publicly traded stocks, like Apple, Coca-Cola, American Express, and those stocks appreciate in value, The capital gains are unrealized until the shares are actually sold. As long as the shares are held, no capital gains tax is paid. This allows the full appreciated value to continue compounding. 3. The no-interest loan from the government. Buffett famously refers to this deferred tax liability as a no-interest loan from the government. Berkshire effectively gets to use capital that would otherwise have gone to taxes, and it can reinvest that capital to generate further profits for its shareholders, all without paying any interest on that loan. The loan is only repaid when the underlying assets are eventually sold, or upon the passing of the shareholder, in the case of their personal shares. Why it matters: magnifying compounding. Imagine you have $100 earning 10% per year. With immediate tax, example 30%. Year 1, you earn $10, pay $3 tax, net $7. You now have $107 to reinvest. With tax deferral, year 1 you earn $10, pay $0 tax, net $10. You now have $110 to reinvest. This seemingly small difference compounds dramatically over time. Over decades, the continuously larger base of pre-tax capital will far outstrip the after-tax growth of capital, where taxes are paid annually or upon realization. This is why long-term holding is not just about patience, but about maximizing after-tax returns. Contrast with frictional taxes. Buffett also highlights the opposite side of the coin: frictional taxes incurred by frequent trading. Short-term capital gains. Actively trading often leads to holding periods of less than a year, meaning any gains are taxed at higher ordinary income tax rates rather than lower long-term capital gains rates. Transaction costs. Frequent buying and selling also incurs commissions and other trading costs, which further eat into returns. These frictional costs and immediate tax payments act as a constant drag, significantly eroding compounding power. Buffett's philosophy of holding forever directly minimizes these frictional costs. Practical application for the investor. 1. Prioritize long-term holding. Embrace the buy and hold strategy for quality businesses. Every time you sell, you trigger a taxable event. 2. Prefer growth companies that retain earnings. Look for companies that can profitably reinvest their earnings within the business rather than paying out large dividends. This allows your share of those earnings to compound on a deferred tax basis. 3. Utilize tax-advantaged accounts. Maximize contributions to tax-deferred retirement accounts. Example: RRSPs, 401ks, IRAs, where earnings compound tax-free until withdrawal, and tax-exempt accounts. Example: TFSAs, Roth IRAs, where growth is permanently tax-free. 4. Be mindful of dividend yields. While dividends can be nice, understand that they are immediately taxable as income. Weigh this against the potential for higher long-term compounding from retained earnings in a high-quality business. 5. Understand deferred tax liabilities. If you see a large deferred tax liability on a company's balance sheet, like Berkshire's, recognize that it often represents unrealized gains that the company has wisely chosen to let compound, rather than a looming cash obligation. Buffett's analogy, quote, "It's a huge, huge factor. A big source of our wealth comes from the fact that we don't have to pay taxes on our capital gains until we sell. Never interrupt compounding unnecessarily." This lesson is a testament to Buffett's shrewd understanding of the financial system beyond just business operations. By mastering the art of tax deferral, he ensures that the maximum amount of capital is continuously working for shareholders, significantly amplifying their long-term, after-tax returns. Lesson 9. Seek highly capable, honest, and autonomous managers. Core idea. For Warren Buffett, the quality of management is an absolute cornerstone of a great business and a successful long-term investment. He understands that even the best business model can be undermined by poor leadership, and conversely, good managers can steer a decent business to great heights. He views managers as the stewards of shareholder capital, and their character, ability, and alignment with owner interests are paramount. Buffett's approach is not about micromanagement, but about finding truly exceptional individuals and then empowering them fully. The 3 pillars of management, Buffett's famous criteria. Buffett famously articulates 3 non-negotiable qualities he looks for in managers. 1. Integrity. This is by far the most important. Buffett emphasizes that you can't make a good deal with a bad person. A brilliant but dishonest manager can destroy immense value through self-serving actions, fraud, or misrepresentation. Integrity ensures that the manager will always act in the best interests of the owners. 2. Intelligence. Managers need the intellect to understand their business deeply, make sound strategic decisions, and navigate complex market conditions. This isn't necessarily about academic brilliance, but about practical business acumen. 3. Energy. Running a successful business requires immense dedication, hard work, and drive. Managers must have the vigor to execute plans, solve problems, and tirelessly pursue excellence. Buffett states that if a manager lacks integrity, intelligence and energy will only make them more dangerous. Berkshire's management philosophy: autonomy and radical decentralization. Once Buffett finds managers who embody these 3 qualities, his philosophy is to grant them extraordinary autonomy and decentralization. Trust, not bureaucracy. Unlike many conglomerates that impose layers of corporate oversight and mandates, Berkshire's model is built on trust. Managers are expected to run their operations as if they were the sole owners. Freedom to operate. This means minimal interference from Omaha. Managers make daily operational decisions, handle hiring, manage product development, and deal with local challenges. This allows them to be agile and responsive to their markets. Focus on the business. By removing the burden of corporate politics and short-term reporting pressures, managers are free to focus their energy on building the long-term value of their respective businesses. Buffett as capital allocator. Buffett's primary role remains capital allocation, deciding where to deploy Berkshire's substantial cash flow. Example: acquisitions, stock buybacks, reinvestment within existing units. He relies on his managers to be the operational experts who generate the cash flow. Incentives and alignment. Buffett believes in sensible, long-term oriented compensation that genuinely aligns managers' interests with those of shareholders. He is generally critical of complex, excessive stock option schemes that often reward managers merely for broad market increases rather than true business performance. He prefers compensation tied directly to the performance of the manager's specific business unit, fostering an ownership mentality. Many Berkshire managers have significant personal wealth tied up in Berkshire stock or their business. He values managers who are intrinsically motivated by the success of their business, beyond just financial reward. Why it matters: impact on business performance and investor confidence, sustained operational excellence, empowered, high-quality managers are crucial for maintaining and expanding economic moats and driving consistent profitability. Efficient capital allocation at the unit level. Managers who are close to the ground can make better day-to-day decisions about reinvestment within their units. Reduced corporate overhead. Decentralization minimizes the need for large, costly corporate headquarters staff, improving overall efficiency. Trust and stability for sellers. Berkshire's unique approach to management is a significant selling point for business owners looking for a permanent, non-invasive home for their company after selling. Investor confidence. Knowing that capable and ethical individuals are running the businesses provides immense confidence to long-term shareholders. Practical application for the investor. 1. Scrutinize management. Research the management team's history, track record, and past communication. Look for evidence of integrity, competence, and shareholder alignment. 2. Look at capital allocation decisions. How has management allocated capital? Are they making wise reinvestments, paying down debt, buying back shares at opportune times, or making value-enhancing acquisitions? 3. Assess incentives. How are managers compensated? Do their incentives truly align with long-term shareholder value creation, or are they focused on short-term metrics? 4. Consider longevity and culture. Does the company have a stable management team and a culture that fosters long-term thinking and ethical behavior? 5. Read management letters and discussions. Pay close attention to what management says and doesn't say in annual reports and earnings calls. Do they speak transparently and candidly? Buffett's analogy, quote, "We look for three things in a person: intelligence, energy, and integrity. And if they don't have the last, don't even bother with the first two." Our managers are the ones truly responsible for our success. We believe in leaving good managers alone and not burdening them with the paperwork and bureaucracy of a large organization. This lesson profoundly impacts how Buffett builds and sustains Berkshire Hathaway's diverse conglomerate. It highlights his deep understanding that while business models and capital are vital, the quality and motivation of human capital are ultimately what drive long-term success and shareholder value. Lesson 10. Avoid debt and excessive leverage. Core idea. For Warren Buffett, a strong balance sheet with minimal or no debt is a paramount virtue. He consistently emphasizes that while leverage, using borrowed money, can amplify returns in good times, it introduces a dangerous fragility that can lead to catastrophic losses or even ruin when unforeseen difficulties arise. His philosophy prioritizes survival, resilience, and the ability to act opportunistically over maximizing returns through risky financial engineering. Buffett views debt as a dangerous sword of Damocles hanging over a business. While borrowing money to buy profitable assets seems rational, he highlights that a company's ability to pay back debt relies on the future, which is inherently uncertain. The dangers of leverage, why Buffett is so averse. 1. Amplified losses. Debt amplifies both gains and losses. If an investment or business operation goes wrong, leverage turns manageable losses into devastating ones, sometimes leading to bankruptcy, even for fundamentally sound businesses. 2. Lack of flexibility. A heavily indebted company loses its operational and strategic flexibility. It might be forced to sell assets at fire sale prices, cut essential long-term investments, like R&D or marketing, or forego attractive opportunities simply to service its debt. 3. Vulnerability to external shocks. Economic recessions, interest rate spikes, industry downturns, or unexpected operational problems can quickly render debt burdens unsustainable, pushing even profitable companies to the brink. 4. Psychological pressure. High debt creates immense psychological pressure on management, potentially leading to suboptimal, short-term decisions designed to meet debt obligations rather than build long-term value. 5. The one-inch hole. Analogy. Buffett famously states that if you have a 10,000-pound boat and a one-inch hole, you'll still sink. His point is that even a small amount of debt can be fatal if unexpected circumstances turn against you. Berkshire's approach to debt. Berkshire Hathaway is renowned for its fortress-like balance sheet, abundant cash. Buffett ensures Berkshire always maintains a massive cash pile, providing immense financial strength and the ability to capitalize on opportunities when others are distressed. Example, during the 2008 financial crisis. Minimal corporate debt. While some of Berkshire's operating subsidiaries may carry manageable amounts of debt, the parent company generally operates with very low leverage relative to its assets and earnings. Cash-funded acquisitions. Buffett prefers to pay cash for major acquisitions, avoiding the highly leveraged buyout, LBO structures common in private equity, which often saddle the acquired company with significant debt. No risk of going bust. Buffett's paramount goal is to ensure Berkshire Hathaway never has to face bankruptcy. His conservative debt philosophy is central to this. Contrast with common corporate practices. Buffett's stance on debt often contrasts sharply with widespread corporate practices, particularly among highly leveraged acquisitions. Many companies and private equity firms use massive amounts of debt to finance acquisitions, betting on future cash flows to service the debt. Share buybacks. Funded by debt. Some companies borrow money to buy back their own stock, which Buffett considers imprudent if it excessively weakens the balance sheet. Maximizing ROE through leverage. While debt can boost return on equity, ROE, by increasing financial leverage, Buffett argues this often comes at an unacceptable risk of ruin. Why it matters. Impact on business resilience and investor safety. Survival. A strong balance sheet ensures a business can survive tough times, emerge stronger, and continue compounding value. Opportunism. Financial strength allows a company to be a buyer of last resort when competitors are struggling due to debt or lack of capital, leading to highly accretive acquisitions. Investor peace of mind. Investing in companies with minimal debt provides a greater sense of security and reduces the risk of permanent capital loss. Long-term focus. Freedom from burdensome debt payments allows management to focus on long-term strategic decisions rather than immediate financial survival. Practical application for the investor. 1. Scrutinize balance sheets. When evaluating a company, pay close attention to its debt levels, debt-to-equity ratios, and interest coverage ratios. Look for businesses with conservative financial structures. 2. Be wary of high leverage. Exercise extreme caution with companies that have high debt loads, especially those operating in cyclical or rapidly changing industries. 3. Understand dry powder. Companies with strong cash positions and low debt have dry powder to deploy opportunistically during downturns, which can lead to significant long-term gains. 4. Apply to personal finance. The lesson extends beyond corporate investing. Avoid excessive personal debt, especially high-interest consumer debt, to build your own financial resilience. Buffett's analogy, quote, "We will never use borrowed money in a way that could put us out of business, even if it might appear to double our returns." If you've got a lot of debt, you don't control your own destiny. Too many CEOs have paid too much attention to the message of Wall Street in regard to leverage. It's a dangerous game. This lesson is a cornerstone of Buffett's risk management philosophy. By staunchly avoiding excessive debt, he ensures that Berkshire Hathaway and its subsidiaries can withstand virtually any economic storm, giving them unparalleled resilience and the ability to capitalize on opportunities when others are forced to retreat. Lesson 11. Beware of accounting shenanigans and focus on economic reality. Core idea. Warren Buffett possesses a profound skepticism towards financial statements that merely conform to accounting rules but obscure economic reality. He warns investors to be acutely aware of accounting shenanigans, the various tactics companies employ to manipulate or obscure their financial reporting, often to present a more flattering picture than the underlying business performance warrants. For Buffett, understanding these maneuvers is essential to avoid being misled and to discern the true health and profitability of a business. His ultimate message is, always look beyond the reported numbers to understand the actual cash flows and economic truth of the business. Why they occur, managerial incentives. Accounting shenanigans often arise from powerful managerial incentives. Meeting earnings targets. To satisfy Wall Street analysts' expectations and protect stock price. Executive compensation. If bonuses or stock options are tied to reported earnings, managers have a strong incentive to boost those numbers, presenting a rosy picture to attract investors, secure loans, or facilitate acquisitions at favorable terms. Hiding problems. To conceal deteriorating business performance or impending losses. Common tactics, examples of shenanigans. Buffett has seen and warned about countless ways financial statements can be distorted. 1. Aggressive revenue recognition. Recognizing sales prematurely, e.g., before delivery, before customer acceptance, or before collectability is certain, to boost current period revenues. 2. Creative capitalization of expenses. Treating legitimate operating expenses, which immediately reduce current earnings as assets that are then depreciated over many years, which boosts current profits. A classic example is capitalizing R&D or marketing costs that should be expensed. 3. Misuse of reserves provisions. Cookie jar reserves. Creating excessive reserves in good times, drawing down earnings then, and then releasing them in bad times to artificially smooth or inflate earnings when needed. 4. Big bath. Charges. Taking large one-time write-offs in a bad year to clear the decks of past problems, making future years look artificially better. 5. Off-balance sheet entities, financing. Using complex legal structures or special purpose entities, SPEs, to keep debt, guarantees, or risky assets off the main balance sheet, hiding the true leverage or exposure of the company. 6. Misleading pro forma or adjusted earnings, presenting non-GAAP earnings figures that exclude various legitimate expenses, e.g. stock-based compensation, restructuring charges, acquisition-related costs, giving a rosier picture than true economic profitability. Buffett calls these earnings of the corporate imagination. 7. Pension fund accounting manipulation, playing with assumptions about expected returns on pension assets or discount rates for pension liabilities to inflate current period earnings. 8. Changes in accounting methods, switching accounting methods, e.g., inventory valuation, depreciation methods, in ways that boost reported earnings without a change in underlying business performance. Why it matters, how investors are misled and capital is jeopardized. False sense of security. Misleading financials can make a weak business appear strong, lulling investors into a false sense of security. Overvaluation. If profits are overstated, investors will likely overpay for the stock, leading to poor returns or permanent capital loss when the true picture eventually emerges. Poor capital allocation. Management might make bad decisions based on distorted internal metrics, or shareholders might be unable to hold management accountable for capital allocation. Erosion of trust. When discovered, accounting scandals destroy investor trust, often leading to a precipitous decline in stock price. The antidote. Focus on economic reality. How to see through the tricks. Buffett's answer to Shenanigans is a relentless focus on economic reality. 1. Prioritize owner earnings. As discussed in Lesson 7, focus on the true cash flow available to owners after all necessary maintenance capital expenditures. This metric is far harder to manipulate than accrual-based net income. 2. Scrutinize the cash flow statement. The cash flow statement is often considered the least susceptible to manipulation because it deals with actual cash inflows and outflows. Pay close attention to operating cash flow and how it relates to reported net income. 3. Read the footnotes diligently. Crucial details about accounting policies, contingent liabilities, off-balance sheet arrangements, and unusual transactions are often buried in the footnotes. These are vital for understanding the full financial picture. 4. Ask, does this make economic sense? If a company's reported earnings seem inconsistent with its industry, its asset base, or common sense, dig deeper. Trust your judgment over the numbers if they seem implausible. 5. Be skeptical of one-time or non-recurring items. If a company frequently labels expenses as one-time to exclude them from core earnings, it's a red flag. Many one-time items are recurring costs of doing business. 6. Focus on consistency. Look for consistency in accounting practices over time. Frequent changes in methods can be a warning sign. 7. Identify managerial incentives. Understand how executive compensation structures might encourage aggressive accounting. Practical application for the investor. Don't rely solely on headline earnings. Always dig into the underlying details. Compare a company's financial statements to its competitors to spot anomalies. Be wary of complexity. Simple businesses with transparent financials are easier to analyze. Invest in management teams with proven integrity. Lesson 9. Buffett's analogy, quote, "If I had to pick one guideline as most important, it would be to stick to the economic facts and discount the accounting rhetoric." Managers are trying to put their best foot forward, and sometimes they stamp their foot so hard it leaves a hole in the income statement. When managers get into the habit of manipulating GAAP earnings, they are often led down a slippery slope to financial chicanery and personal dishonesty. This lesson is a crucial defense mechanism for investors. By developing a critical eye and prioritizing economic reality over mere accounting appearances, investors can protect their capital and make more informed decisions, avoiding the traps set by misleading financial reports. Lesson 12. Keep it simple and rational. Core idea. At its heart, Warren Buffett's enduring success is built on a philosophy of profound simplicity and unwavering rationality. He consistently advocates for avoiding complexity in both investment analysis and business operations. He believes that the best investment opportunities are often found in straightforward, understandable businesses, and that the best decisions are made when emotions are kept out of the equation, relying instead on logical, common-sense principles. This lesson is a powerful antidote to the often intimidating and overly sophisticated world of finance. Buffett proves that extraordinary results can be achieved by adhering to basic, timeless truths. Why complexity is the enemy. 1. Obscures understanding. Complexity makes it difficult, if not impossible, to truly understand a business. Tying back to Lesson 6, Circle of Competence. If you can't grasp how a company makes money, you can't value it reliably. 2. Hides risk. Complex financial products, like many derivatives, Lesson 7 from Part 7's reemphasis. Convoluted corporate structures or intricate accounting practices often hide significant risks and liabilities. 3. Invites manipulation. As seen in Lesson 11, Accounting Shenanigans, complexity provides more opportunities for misrepresentation and obfuscation, making it harder for investors to discern economic reality. 4. Increases error rate. The more moving parts, assumptions, and variables involved, the higher the probability of making a mistake in analysis or judgment. Buffett prefers fat pitches, opportunities that are so obvious they're almost impossible to miss. 5. Promotes hubris. Believing one can master complex situations often leads to overconfidence and venturing into areas beyond one's true competence. The power of common sense. Buffett often frames his investment decisions as simple, common-sense business judgments, not arcane financial wizardry. Look for predictable businesses. He favors companies whose future operations are relatively predictable, allowing for reasonable estimates of future cash flows. Invest in what you see. Many of his successful investments are in businesses that produce products or services he and everyone else uses and understands daily. Focus on basic economics. Does the business earn a lot more than it spends? Does it have pricing power? Is it essential? These are fundamental questions, not complex algorithms. Rationality over emotion. This aspect of the lesson is about psychological discipline. Ignoring the crowd. Rationality means resisting the herd mentality. When everyone else is panicking, a rational investor sees opportunity. When everyone else is euphoric, a rational investor maintains caution, tying back to Lesson 5, Mr. Market, freedom from fear and greed. These two emotions are the downfall of most investors. Rationality involves making decisions based on facts and analysis, intrinsic value, moats, owner earnings, rather than emotional impulses. Patience and inactivity. A rational investor understands that great opportunities are rare. They are content to do nothing for long periods, waiting for the clear, simple, and high probability investment opportunities to present themselves. Tying back to Lesson 4, Long-Term Horizon. Practical application for the investor. 1. Demand clarity. If you can't explain what a business does to a fifth grader, don't invest in it. 2. Avoid hot trends. You don't understand. Resist the urge to jump into trendy sectors or companies that rely on speculative future technologies or complex business models. 3. Use simple valuation methods. While discounted cash flow is the conceptual basis, Buffett often relies on simpler heuristics and rules of thumb once he understands a business, making sure the valuation is robust enough to not require excessive precision. 4. Cultivate emotional detachment. Practice observing market fluctuations without reacting to them emotionally. Make a plan and stick to it, letting your rational analysis guide your actions. 5. Read widely, think deeply. Spend more time thinking and less time trading. Good investing is about knowing a lot about a few things rather than a little about many. 6. Seek out clear communication. Value companies and managers, Lesson 9, who communicate in clear, honest, and straightforward language. Buffett's analogy, quote, investing is not a game where the guy with the 160 IQ beats the guy with the 130 IQ. Rationality is essential. There is no rule that says you have to make money on everything you buy. If something is too complex, you don't have to buy it. Keep all your investing operations simple and easy to understand. The best way to make a great fortune is to never interrupt it unnecessarily. This final lesson encapsulates Buffett's profound wisdom that successful investing is less about intellectual prowess and more about intellectual honesty, emotional discipline, and a deep appreciation for the enduring power of fundamental business principles. By keeping things simple and rational, investors can navigate the complexities of the market and achieve superior long-term results. This completes our in-depth expansion of all 12 top lessons from the Essays of Warren Buffett, Lessons for Corporate America. We've covered 1. Invest in businesses, not stocks, the owner's mindset. 2. Focus on intrinsic value and demand a margin of safety. 3. Understand and seek durable competitive advantages, economic moats. 4. Embrace a long-term investment horizon. Compounding is magic. 5. Utilize Mr. Market's moods to your advantage. 6. Stay within your circle of competence. 7. Prioritize owner earnings over accounting profits. 8. Understand and exploit the power of tax deferral. 9. Seek highly capable, honest, and autonomous managers. 10. Avoid debt and excessive leverage. 11. Beware of accounting shenanigans and focus on economic reality. 12. Keep it simple and rational. All right, PowerBooks community, that brings us to the close of another in-depth exploration, this time into the timeless wisdom found in the Essays of Warren Buffett, Lessons for Corporate America. I trust you've gleaned some invaluable principles and perspectives on how to approach investing and business with greater clarity and enduring success. If you found this breakdown empowering and are eager to delve even deeper into Buffett's core philosophies, the nuances of valuing a business, and the critical elements of his owner-oriented mindset, then let me know in the comments below. If there's enough interest, I'll be sure to include a link to the full book in the description for you to explore every detail. And if this summary has illuminated potential pathways to improve your investment journey, please hit that like button to help us share this knowledge with more individuals striving for financial mastery. Don't forget to share this video with your fellow investors and aspiring business leaders who are looking for actionable wisdom and a deeper understanding of how true wealth is built. Of course, to continue fueling your journey with more powerful book summaries on finance, investing, business, and the mindset for success, make sure you subscribe to PowerBooks and ring that notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive. Your thoughts and questions are invaluable, so please comment below with your key takeaways or any specific Buffett lesson that resonated most with you. Remember, here at PowerBooks, we believe that knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. So take these insights, apply them to your investment endeavors, and strive for that compounding success. Thanks for tuning in. Stay informed, keep learning, and we'll catch you in the next powerful book breakdown.